Hi guys, Future Vinny here. So I just wanted to give you guys a little forewarning. This episode did have a lot of issues and delays. My PC crashed, and Mr. Richey's drivers weren't updating properly. So there's a lot of start and stops. We had to record this episode over multiple days. It's obviously very late because I had to fix some of the audio issues. His levels were high, mine were low, so I had to manually go in and adjust every single time one of us spoke. But it's in a listenable state now. You can hear it. It's much better than when we first recorded it. But I just wanted to give you guys a brief overview, just letting you know some levels might drop. It might be all over the place, but the core podcast is there. All the fun discussions we had is still ready for you to listen. So with all that out of the way, let's just get right to the episode.
What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Unofficial PlayStation Plus podcast, your monthly slice for all things PlayStation Plus. News, reviews, reactions, opinions, we got them every last Sunday of the month, sometimes if the world doesn't explode. But I'm your host, Vincent Kenny, and joining me on this episode, we have our very special guest, a returning guest, host of Stats on Stats, host of the Rich Dolphins streaming channel here on Twitch. It's Mr. Richey Stevens to talk all things about PlayStation Plus for the month of April 2021. But before we get to all that, how are you doing today, sir?
I've had a absolute week from hell. I am tired, and I'm ready to share my thoughts.
This podcast was literally effort in the making. We've had to reschedule 4 or 5 times because you had car issues, my computer was acting up. Literally this morning, 20 minutes before we were about to record, I just needed to go grab some bread and milk and stuff. And then I locked my keys in the car. I had to call my family, come get them. We literally used one of those old people can grabber things to fish the keys out of the things. Thankfully it was hot, so the window was open, but we're finally here. We're finally ready to talk PlayStation Plus. And it's funny that we're both coming in with this anger and this venom because initially when we talked about doing the May episode, you were like, oh, well, I have lots. I was like, do you want to talk about Battlefield 5? And you were like, yeah, I have lots to say, but none of it's going to be good.
Some of it will be, majority of it is going to be my thoughts because I'm a diehard Battlefield fan. I've been playing since the first Battlefield on PC. It was one of the first actual computer games I owned, and yeah, I just have a lot of thoughts.
Okay, but before we get all of that, what kind of non-gaming stuff has caught your attention lately? Be it movies, comics, books, whatever's just been the center of your world the last few days.
My audiobooks.
Yeah, no.
That's really about it.
Well, what was it? The dude.
I've been.
I was gonna say the dude. What was it? You're the only person who knew who the Fortnite guy was. Because I've had so many people go, what is this fantasy book, dude? And you were the only person to go, oh my god!
Oh!
Yeah,
Yes! He's from the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson.
Exactly. I've had so many people go... I literally just tell them about you because everyone's like, oh, I just bought him because he was some cool hooded cloak dude. And you're like, oh, it's this series. It's came out this and that. And I'm just like, all right, he's a dope looking dude with swords.
They're actually daggers made of ice and mist, essentially. I love it.
Yeah, but any other shows or anything you want to talk about real quick?
Not really, no. I mean, I finished Lucifer.
So okay,
now
is it done, or is it just this season?
No, there is one final season. This was, from my understanding, originally supposed to be the final season, but this is season 5, part 2.
Okay, yeah.
So we will get a season 6.
Okay, yeah. See, because that would confuse me, because I know there was the final season on TV, and then I know Netflix picked it up, and they're like, okay, this is the final season. And I saw reports like, okay, no, there's actually going to be another final season. And I'm like, wait, what is happening here?
Yeah, there's a lot going on with it. That show has gone through development hell. Mm-hmm. But Netflix saved it and opened up the boundaries a little bit more, so where they have a little more leeway because they're not on TV, so hearing Lucifer drop the F-bomb once or twice is quite humorous. But it was
That's what one of those shows.
a good season. I'm excited to hopefully talk about that tonight on the Penultimate Conquest, but who knows at this point.
Here on Twitch. Yeah, more or less, I've been doing the same. Like I said, I've just been the last few months. What is the word? Indoctrinating my lovely fiancée Sarah into the world of anime. So we've been slowly plowing our way through Avatar, The Last Airbender. We're like.
It's not really anime though. It is
Richey,
a kids cartoon, but it is. Hey, hold on. It was made in America, so yes, it is animation, but I would not personally classify it as anime.
Okay,
but it is still damn good. I'm not.
Here's the thing, because we both watch this show. Is Castlevania anime then?
Technically, no. It is animation.
See, again, this is like that,
it is not anime.
This is like that Scotch nonsense, because apparently I looked it up like years ago, but like the only thing that makes that alcohol Scotch is the fact that it is made in Scotland. Like if you took the same materials, the same material, barrel, company, people, if you moved all those things and you put it to another country, then somehow it's not Scotch anymore. And I'm like, then it becomes whiskey or something. I'm like, that is the dumbest thing ever. Because there's been I've seen people where like, some people get really snippy and they're like, oh, well, he's an American director. So even though he moved to Japan and it's made in Japan, it's like, well, but he's not Japanese, so it's not anime. I'm like, it's just banana. Point is, Avatar's really good. She's very much enjoying it.
It's very good. I'm not gonna trash it or anything. I love the show. Like Avatar and The Legend of Korra are like two of my favorite things ever created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and her main thing is, which I even told her going into it, it's like, oh, this is clearly made for like 12-year-olds, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna deny that. I'm very excited for her to watch Korra, because Korra definitely goes into a lot crazier places.
Korra gets dark.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, it's just, like I said, we're starting to get to the point where I am running out of like the good animes, because there's like a lot of stuff like I'm trying to think of stuff off the top of my head, like I don't know why the one thing my mind goes to is BNA, but like I'm trying to give her like the 10 out of 10 like amazing shows, and like I'm starting to run out, so now there's only like 7s, and I'm like, oh no. Like the only 2 that like off the top of my head that I know we have to do is I need her to watch Bebop and Full Metal, but I'm still deciding which one I'm gonna do.
Full Metal.
Well, see, the thing is, I grew up with the original, and I love the original. Like, I don't care, oh, it's different from the manga. Like, no, I love the original. The original is really good, but everyone really loves Brotherhood, and I've never actually seen Brotherhood, so I feel like that would be a good one for both of us, because even though I have a rough idea what's happening, like, it would both be new for both of us. So.
It's good. It's really good. I like it.
Yep. But there'll be plenty of time for anime. But instead, let's get right to the Plus games for May 2021. As my phone lags out. So for this month, you got 3 different games. The PlayStation game, or sorry, the PS5 game for this month was Wreckfest. It was developed by Bugbear Entertainment and released January. Okay, I'm very confused. It says initial release date January 1st. Oh, no, okay, sorry. I think that's for the PS4 version. It was released May 4th, 2021. So you got that, another PS5 game, brand new, why am I so trippy? Brand new right at launch, and it has a 78 on Metacritic. Again, real quick, I don't think you have a PS5, neither do I. So do you have any thoughts on Wreckfest, real quick? Yep, that's all.
Really?
The one thing I will throw to you is I did see, because I have the memory of a gopher. I forget what last month's Plus game was, or and this one is like Disco Tango or something. But I think people have started to reach the point where they're getting disappointed with the PS5 selection, and I'm kind of curious, like, what's your thought on that?
Well, I mean, we're not even in a full year of the PS5's life cycle at this point. So really, there's nothing we can honestly say about it because I mean, there's just
like
the PS5 came out in what, November? So
but
it's been a little over 6 months, 7 months.
But yeah, you had people's big complaint is that you started it off with Bug Snacks and Abe's Odyssey and Destruction All Star and like these like big games, and then now they're kind of starting to wind down, or it's just like, oh, this is a free game, like. But I totally agree, like, especially for Plus, which typically, again, like this is what I said, like, for the first year and a half, I'm not gonna expect too much for the PS5 version of Plus, because you had stuff like with the PS5, you had stuff like Contrast, which a dope game, but like, I don't know, it kind of upsets me seeing people. It really upsets me actually, like seeing people compare Game Pass to PlayStation Plus, because like if you look
right,
something I didn't even know. Although technically there really isn't that many, Xbox isn't doing Series X games for Games of Gold. Yeah, like it's.
I haven't. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been following really either. Just because I'm mainly on PC now. So, and I don't have a newer gen console, so I honestly just don't care. I mainly focus on playing on my Switch and my PC. But the games that do cover for the month of releases, I mean, there are some that I'm gonna know, like Battlefield, and
the thing
previous episodes I've been on were like the Sniper Elite, I think was one of them, and
I'm kind of settling in, even though I don't own a PS5, so this doesn't affect me in any literal way. But like, I think we've started to reach the point where, okay, this is gonna be it for a while. Like, you're not gonna get a holy crap, Ratchet is free on Plus. Like, no, that's not gonna happen for a while. Like, at best, maybe you get Demon Souls for like March of 2022, but even that's a stretch. Like, I wouldn't.
Right.
But yeah, so I think just like going forward, people do have to understand. There might be sporadic, like, big, like, let's just say, like, oh, Saints Row 3 or something, like, or yeah, Saints Row 5, whatever. There might be sporadic ones, but I think for the time being, people have to understand the console's still new. There's not a lot of games they can pull from, so they're gonna be these quote unquote weak games for a while.
Right.
But then if you look at the PS4, they're just fine. It's a supply and demand thing. There just isn't enough quote unquote big tier titles they can just give away for free.
Exactly.
And then the other game, you go into the PlayStation 5. You got Stranded Deep on PS4. As my phone lags, we sing this song. Developed by Beam Team. It was released April 23rd, 2020, and has a Metacritic score of 65. So I did not play this game because for April they were doing their the play at home stuff, and with that they gave you Subnautica, and I tried that a little bit, and it's okay. It's a water based survival game, and then literally the next month they gave you Stranded Deep, which is also a water based survival game. So I was kind of already burned out on that whole genre that I didn't feel the need to play this. But before we move on, do these survival-based games like do anything for you? Because like in theory, they actually offer a lot more than a quote-unquote like a Call of Duty or something like that, because that has a story mode that has like an end, But with games like this, theoretically, you could just play them forever.
I do like survival-based games to an extent. So I do like, being able to go out and explore the world. I've played my fair share of, the open world survivalist games such as 7 Days to Die, Ark, Conan Exiles, and
yes, that was the other one we did. Yes.
Valheim. Yeah, Conan Exiles. I loved playing that game. That game was so much fun. there's just a lot that goes into some of these that I'm like, like I have to be in a specific mood because the crafting system and everything is great in them, but then sometimes I want a little more of a story than I do with a normal story or a normal like open world survival game. So like give me a quest system, give me
exactly
like an actual evolution system instead of just oh hey, I have to calm this monster down really quickly. Okay, now I can possibly tame him. That's neat.
Yeah, like I always hit a wall with these games where I always like the first few hours are very stressful, very tense, very because you have to manage your resources, you have to manage your health, your all this other stuff. You have to do it, but like at a certain point, you've built a house, you've built shelter, you've built this other stuff, and it's like, okay, I'm not at immediate threat of dying. And the only thing really keeping me going forward is like, oh, well, maybe I want a slightly nicer house. Maybe I want stone walls instead of wood walls. Maybe I want an iron sword instead of a stone sword. And I do kind of hit this wall where it's like, okay, cool. I don't really see the point of me keep playing beyond just trying to see how long I could survive in this space.
I get that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the final game you got for this month, and the one that we're probably going to do the deep dive on, is Battlefield 5. If Google will load.
Yeah.
So it was developed by EA DICE. It is the 16th installment in the Battlefield series. It was released. Why? Okay, maybe you can explain this to me. Google was confusing me. It said it was initially released September 4th, 2018, but it has a worldwide release on November 20th. Why? Unless Google's wrong, but why?
Give me a second here. Let me do my little research on it. Battlefield 5. Here we go.
Well, you do that.
So it had an initial or originally it was going to be released on November 4th.
Okay.
Or not November 4th, September 4th, 2018. They ended up pushing it back, which I don't know why they did that because it ended up coming around the same time as Call of Duty Black Ops 4. And yeah, it was it was not good. Let's be real. Like the launch for it was not a good time.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna very quickly because I streamed a little bit of it, and as someone who doesn't play these typical type of games, the menu scared me because there's so much going on. There's okay,
yes,
literally just figuring. All I wanted to do was play the story mode, and just doing that was like, okay, wait, so there's campaigns and there's war stories and then there's there was just so many options.
War stories are the campaign. That's the thing.
Yes, but the thing was to find the actual war stories, I had to go through about 3 or 4 sub menus to actually find the campaign missions. They're not. It's not just a button on the main menu. You really have to read around to find them. They're actually they're not even a large button. It's this tiny one in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I hope they fix that with Battlefield 6 because Battlefield 4 had that, and not to be mistaken for the first Battlefield, but Battlefield 1, yes, which it took place in World War I. I think that's why they called it Battlefield 1 because it's obviously not the first Battlefield game.
Well, yes, that's their justification, but then Battlefield 5 is in World War II.
Yeah,
so that makes literally zero sense.
Because, if you look at the Battlefield timeline, we had Battlefield 1942, which was, I believe, the first Battlefield game.
Yes.
And that came out back in 2002. And then you had Battlefield Vietnam, Battlefield 2, which I spent way too many hours on that, playing that with my dad. Then you had the Battlefield 2 Modern Combat, then Battlefield 2142, which was the futuristic Battlefield game, and it was fantastic. I had to censor myself.
First off, what's the new one?
Battlefield 6 is taking place in 2042.
Okay, so it is 2042. Okay.
So yeah, here's something cool. The first Battlefield game was Battlefield 1942.
Yes.
The futuristic one took place 200 years in the future from that point. We're at the 100-year mark between Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2040 or 2142. And that was like the whole speculation that it was going to be that like 100-year difference in the time frame of the games, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Which first, like, we can get into it in a bit, but like, can I just say how weird it is that we like, kids don't understand. It's just so weird to me that think that's only 20 years away.
Yeah.
Like, children are going to grow up. It's like, oh yeah, I was born in 2047. I'm like, what? You were born in the future? How does that work?
So, yeah,
so I was gonna say,
I'm really excited.
So I will give you the floor real quick. All I was gonna say is, yeah, I played I played the one story mission. It's a shooter. That's. I really wish I had more to say. It's just one of those things. Like, I looked at all the menu and it's like, if you're into this ecosystem, I'm assuming there's plenty for you to enjoy. There's a multiplayer, all the other stuff. But like, as someone who's not into these games, there's only like 4 or 5 campaign missions. They're only about 2 hours each. So for me personally, like, I just don't know how much mileage I would really get out of this game, especially at launch, and all that. So like, I don't know. Maybe you will have more to say on it, but I just thought it was like, it looked just like every other Call of Duty and Battlefield and whatever. It just looks like another shooter game. I really could not.
So first off, let me start off by saying I love the franchise. I've been an avid Battlefield player for years. Like I said, I've played pretty much every single Battlefield game. I think there's like 1 or 2 I've missed. And that's because they weren't the really well-known ones, like the Battlefield Heroes and the like Battlefield Play for Free and Battlefield Online. They were just some weird ones. I don't think got US releases. But Battlefield 5 is by far the worst one that's been released.
Okay, so
modernly. And before that it was Battlefield Hardline. So in Battlefield Hardline was the cop one where you could either play as the pretty much cops and robbers. It was that. Which, don't get me wrong, the story mode was really cool. And like, it was kind of lackluster, but it has some really cool mechanics.
Didn't it end?
Multiplayer was kind of shit.
I always remember the dumbest stuff. Didn't it like end like? I'm trying to think how to describe. Wasn't there like credits and stuff, and like every time you loaded up the game, it did like a 24 like previously on Battlefield Hardline.
Yes, it was like an episodic thing. It was really cool. Yeah, so it was like an episode of Cops.
I know. That's what I'm like, I don't care about your AK, but oh, dude, they did a story thing. That's dope. But yes, no, go on.
So you had Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, which took place in like the modern day era. So they were kind of the modern warfare-esque games, where the Bad Company games did the exact same thing. Same with Battlefield 2's original release. It was like, modern Iraqi war combat, the war in the Middle East. So there's always been kind of like a political standpoint behind it. Like, there's always some sort of war that these kind of censored on, or they focused on the, I guess, the topics. So like the bad guys in Battlefield 3 were Russians, and in 4 I honestly can't remember. I just subscribed to EA Play on Steam, so I could go back and play through the campaigns leading up to Battlefield 6.
I'm
already gonna hate myself.
I'm a dork with this thing again, because I was yelling with someone about this. Does Game Pass on PC give you access on Origins?
It gives us access to EA Play if we get Game Pass Ultimate.
Okay, so it's only with Ultimate.
Yes. So I was like,
I was arguing with someone about
so Game Pass. So Game Pass, I have there's some games on there I want to play, but it's not worth the $10 a month. Where I'm like, oh, $4.99 for a month, or I could do $29.99 for a year, and get like all the EA games just through Steam, and I don't have to go through another third-party app. That's what I'm gonna do.
Well, yeah, because there was a weird thing. Because the thing we were arguing about is that isn't there multiple tiers of Game Pass? Or sorry, no, of EA Play. Because apparently there's a tier where like you can play games early, but it locks them off. But apparently it doesn't. It's very confusing.
I think if you just have EA Play, you can get the early access.
Yes.
Do I get to keep playing games after the early access period? Once your early access trial is complete, you'll need to purchase the game if you'd like to continue playing. If the game is not included with EA Play.
See, exactly. It's like there's two.
So, like Battlefield 6 will not be included on the EA Play at launch.
Exactly. That's where I got confused because it was like, wait, so some games are free but not. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Battlefield 5, yes, you're gonna get it on Steam.
I don't think I'm gonna get 5 on Steam.
Or sorry, 6. Or well, yes, 28. So like, what specifically? Because again, like I'm just like I only an outside observer. Like when people complain about this lot of stuff, the one thing I remember is that one time there was this Call of Duty gun that people freaked the heck out because they were like, oh, the reload time went from 0.4 seconds to 0.7, and I'm like, your brain can't even process that quick of a reload time. Like, why are you complaining about it? They're like, oh, it affects my stats and all this other stuff. So
it affects the like time to reload, like say, because when I play a game, no matter what kind of first-person shooter it is, or even a third-person shooter, if I take out an enemy and there's no one around, I'm gonna reload really quickly so that way I have a full clip to make sure. Big example, I've been doing that in Apex a lot. I get a kill with the Spitfire, I reload that stun gun real quick. I had to stop myself,
yeah.
Vinny. I'm trying to keep it PG.
There's children. Well, again, like I said, the base, because I always tell my guests the baseline I use is Ratchet and Clank, PS2 titles. Rip, or what is it?
Those were rated T, so I can say some words.
Exactly, you can say like heck and butt and stuff like. But again, rip you a new arsenal.
Oh no, they should have said son of a bitch in that game.
Yes, I think so. Again, it's like what was it? I'm not gonna say it, but it's like what was it, the FC or that meme? What is it like? Oh, you're allowed. The FCC says you're allowed to say one F-bomb in a PG film. So
in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, and it's always like the randomest stuff. It's like I just like what was it, like Finding Nemo? You think you can do these, Nemo, but you effing can't. Like I just
one does not simply effing walk into Mordor is my favorite because praise the Sean Bean. So
we're totally distracted. Yeah. So,
I will save my one F-bomb then. I will save my one F-bomb.
But yeah,
and I will make sure you're looking at the time so you can get the timestamp so you can bleep me out.
Absolutely. But yes, so again, so going back to it.
So,
like I said, what really was the issue? Because at least from an outsider's perspective, there's lots of content, there's lots of modes. Like, yeah, it's annoying, but like compared to something like Black Ops 4, which was purely multiplayer, purely like just online stuff, why do you think 5 is the worst in the series?
It's mainly the gameplay and somewhat of the community. So let me build up a little bit to it real quick. So back with Battlefield 3 on Xbox 360 and Battlefield 4 on the 360 / Xbox One, like between between gens, essentially. Everyone still used headsets. There was no real focus on the like Xbox party system or the PlayStation party system because PlayStation didn't have a party system in game back on the PS3. So everyone who had mics were using them in game to communicate with their squads. That has gone out the window. And it's part of the reason I don't like playing certain games online without my team anymore because no one wants to communicate. And Battlefield 5 is the absolute worst when it comes to it. Because no one uses team chat. No one wants to cooperate and actually work as a squad together. Everyone either wants to sit back and snipe and be the next quick scoper or whatever. So I'm sitting there going back and forth between the classes and trying to make sure that the objective is complete because most of the teams I get, squatted up with don't play the objective. They're like, oh, we just care about kills. And I'm like, I'm here. I want to complete challenges and play the objective of the game. Make sure we win. The enemy team's doing that. Why can't we?
No, the worst part in that is, it's one thing to do like, okay, like I can understand you're playing with randos and you are you're not on the same team, whatever, you can't communicate like that. There's been times where like I go into, excuse me as I choke on a bagel, I go into like capture the flag. I'm the only one holding bases, and people are just going around murdering each other. I'm like, why are you treating this like deathmatch? This is capture the flag.
And it's the exact same way in what is it?
I'll hear them on the mic. They're like, hey, I may have lost, but I got 57 kills. I'm like, it doesn't matter how many kills you got. The point of the game was to hold the base, and here I am trying to bounce between two different, endpoints because none of my teams are doing what they need to. It's so annoying. I hate it so much. So, like, is it just the community and all this other stuff, or, like, was there an actual issue with,
The gunplay was not fun. Like, Battlefield 1...
Because the timeline might have been weird. Was 1 before this?
So, in order of releases, it went... for modern, or for like the newer ones, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline, Battlefield 1, which was the World War I game, and then Battlefield 5. Which, Battlefield 1, if I remember correctly, also kind of botched when the release came out, because it was released on like the same week or the week before or after Titanfall 2. So October 21st, 2016. Titanfall 2 was October 28th. So yeah, it was a week apart.
As an outsider looking in, I know you're excited for the new one, and I know a lot of people are, and I'm not necessarily away from it. But from an outsider, what do you really think it is about Battlefield that kind of puts it apart from Call of Duty or any of these other like military shooters?
The big team battles. So, having 64 players lobbies on each side, the maps being absolutely enormous, and also the full destruction capability. So, let's take a flashback real quick. Battlefield 4 just launched, and the main map to play on was Shanghai Towers. What did you want to do when you got into that game? You want to destroy that damn tower. My friends and I will...
Yes, I totally remember that.
So, when the beta dropped and everything for that game, my friend and I, we played it religiously. Like, we picked the game up actually day one. We got out of school. We went to GameStop. We both picked up a copy. We went back to his place, installed the update, and we just charged in, went right into the multiplayer, didn't care about the story mode. The full destruction of the maps is where I like it, because if someone is sitting in a corner or something and they're just camping it, I'm blowing a hole in the wall. I'm making sure they don't have cover.
Yeah, one of my favorite. I don't watch their stuff too much anymore, but one of the YouTube channel I really used to like back in the day was Defend the House, and their Mythbuster series, where they'll basically just play games, and they'll test like fan theories or things of that stuff. And one of my favorite videos that they ever did was I really loved their Battlefield video, because half the stuff was like, can you blow up this? Can you blow up this? Can you blow up this? And the answer was like 90% times yes, you can blow up that. One of my favorite memories was like, they apparently they found a way. I don't even know why they thought of this, but that's what they do. Is they got someone to like be down, so you're like in the crawling state, right? Then they blew up the building. Then the building was falling down, and I guess because the person was on the building, they started falling to the ground. Then while the building was falling down, they had a medic come and revive the person, and then they revived the person mid-air, and then they were able to deploy their parachute and like jump off before they died. And I'm like, what?
Yep.
This is the most banana things ever. And like, I love the fact that like that is such a weirdly obscure, unique scenario, and I love the fact that the games are just programmed to work like that.
Yeah, I think overall the gameplay and the whether it be the gunplay or just the way the tactics work in Battlefield are superior to Call of Duty, but people still treat it like Call of Duty, as in, oh, let's just get kills. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it used to not be that way, because I remember, playing Battlefield 2 on the PC back in 2005, so I was 10, 11, and I always wanted to play the objective. I was playing with a group that my dad worked with, and they brought me in. They were all like, the fun uncles growing up. And I remember playing with Joe and Carmer, even when my dad was deployed. Like, this was like, so like I kind of would forget that he was deployed and everything, and kind of like keep me occupied. Mm-hmm. We would play for hours on end, and 10 o'clock would roll around, and being 10 or 11 years old, I had a bedtime. And my mom would be like, Rich, who are you playing with? And I would tell her either Joe or Carver, and she would go, okay, well, another hour or so, and then you got to go to bed. And I'm like, all right, cool.
An hour.
But we would play
or 3.
Yeah, and like we would play the objectives, because I'd be like, all right, where are we going? He goes, all right, we're going to Charlie. We'd run across the map. Oh, we got a vehicle? Cool. We'll drive it across the map. We'll get there and just try to shoot people on the way, and then let's defend that objective. And that's what we would do. Where Call of Duty, it's now just run around. Okay, cool. And then just spam as much tactical stuff as you can. Oh, you got a flashbang? Yeah, let's throw 30 of them. Oh, you got a smoke grenade? Oh, let's throw 30 of them. Because that's what just happened when I was playing Call of Duty like a few weeks ago, is everyone was just throwing smoke grenades, and like you couldn't see anything. And I'm just like, all right, I miss big maps.
Yes. No, now that you remind me, yes, that's the one thing I do remember the Battlefield series was they have the huge maps, and even playing the single player, I was really impressed, like how big. There was no loading, there was nothing. It was just these big open maps with like really. I'm not gonna say like, even though it is an open world, I don't think it was necessarily that you could really have the freedom to do what you want, but it did offer a lot more freedom and choice and like how you tackle a mission compared to the few Call of Duties I've played, which are a lot more linear and kind of just, all right, just go forward and push, compared to Battlefield, where they did give you all these different options.
Yeah, pretty much.
So before we move on real quick, it's actually this is the one thing I will give people is I do like the the quote unquote tinfoil hat people do with Plus sometimes, because they always think that it necessarily means something. But then there are months like this where like, oh, okay, the reason you're getting Battlefield 5 is because we're going to reveal the new one next month. So we want you to get into the Battlefield ecosystem, hype yourself up, so that when this new one comes out, you're already like, hey, I love Battlefield, I love 5, I want to play the next game, and I want to get it at launch.
Yeah, pretty much.
And yeah, so while we do that, because I'm just looking real quick, it says that Battlefield 2042 has no campaign and no Battle Royale mode. So I'm just going to say real quick, before we move forward, what are really your hopes for 2042? Especially seeing how it's only single player, or excuse me, it's only multiplayer. That means you're going to have to rely a lot more on your team.
So with me playing on PC, and I'm sure crossplay is going to be a thing. I'm probably going to get into lobbies where I'll probably meet some people. That's what I've been doing with Apex recently, and I've just met a couple of great people that I will be adding to the Rich Dolphin streaming channel at some point. It's a lot that I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to actually get back to the roots of a team-based shooter. Then let's just make this the next Call of Duty. And with everything that's being speculated around the new Call of Duty's release, I hope that Battlefield kind of puts it on the map, saying, "Hey, let's play this game instead of Call of Duty this year. Let's take a year off," because Black Ops was a disappointment compared to Modern Warfare. So I think what they need to do is, Call of Duty doesn't need a new yearly release every year.
Yeah, they're not.
I think they need to take a break, because do an every other year at this point, because it feels like once someone buys the newest Call of Duty game,
But
they're already cutting support and focusing on the next game.
but isn't because I remember people were upset a few months ago. Isn't the big issue that all the Activision games are like their studios are working on Call of Duty now?
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
So like Toys for Bob and a few others have like, yep, we're focusing on
Call of Duty,
you know, mainly Call of Duty and Warzone, and it's like Warzone has such a hackers issue at the moment, and Call of Duty is quote unquote, my camera's not on so you can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes, addressing it, and they're not. I've been in lobbies with plenty of hackers to the point where I just quit playing. I can't do it anymore. And it's to the point where I'm just like, yep, okay, well, I've wasted money on this game, and I'm kind of just done. So I'm hoping that Battlefield, you know, definitely hits that itch that I've needed, because I mean, I bought Modern Warfare day one. Great game. Multiplayer maps were a little lackluster, but the campaign was fun, and just being able to play with the guys was a great time. I bought Black Ops day one, and I've never been more disappointed in my life with a game. That should say something, because I have really bad takes, Benny. You know how bad takes I have, and that's my take. That disappoint. I'll put it this way: it disappointed me more than The Dark Knight, and you know how much I hate that.
Well, okay, so we're gonna move on from that.
So yeah.
We're going to move on from that statement and also this segment and go into some lovely news. But before we do that, we're going to take a small ad break. As always, this is an independently run and funded show, and if you'd like to sponsor this show or have your letters read on air, you can write into the show, PlayStationPlusPod@gmail.com. But until next time, the free advertisement we're going to give to this month is those little grabber claw things, because they seem useless, and then you lock your keys in your car and they're a lifesaver. They're a pinch. I will say, like, I text my mom and I was just like, hey, I got locked out of my car, can you come, like, I know you have one of those things, just bring it to me. And she did bring it, but then she also brought a magnet on a string, and I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? That's
awesome.
I generally tried, but like just the angle wasn't working. And she was like, "Oh, do it like a fish." I'm like, "Yeah, but when you're fishing, you don't have to put the fishing hook like on a 45-degree angle going straight. Like, it kind of just falls where it falls." But yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
So yeah, as we move on to the news, we have a heap of helping us off, especially because excuse me. Words. Because we're recording it so late normally than we typically would. We have a whole bunch, and even a few that came after. But yes, so we've got 15 stories, and as is slowly becoming a new segment on the show, for sadly reasons, we are gonna start off with what I'm definitively calling the Cyberpunk Corner. I don't know why that stupid, like, the Cyberpunk meme is the dumbest thing ever, and I love it.
Hey, I was playing that earlier this morning, and you know what? I'm having a good time with it.
Yeah, what was it? The one I love, because it always just, like, they always just take dumb words, or what was it? He just clipped stuff in the dumbest way ever. I think the one that like I saw and probably the most popular is just the commercial with Keanu Reeves, and it's just like welcome, and it's like I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but Keanu Reeves is always a win.
He makes
it, and
every...
no matter how bad the project is, Keanu Reeves is always a win.
Honestly, I heard he was pretty good in Cyberpunk.
Oh, he's fantastic.
But yes, so our first...
I want to hate him, but I can't.
Our first point for the Cyberpunk News Corner, thingamabob, totally new name, patent pending. Cyberpunk 2077 gets a new director after the game has been released. And the 20 and will now take over from former game director Adam Bajowski. According to a report by Game Industry Updates, he will now Bajowski will now focus on other leadership duties within the company's new strategic framework.
Okay.
I'm finding new words. Okay, so that's really the only main one. Is I just find it. I don't understand. Like why? I don't understand this. I'm just so confused. It's one thing to have a game director quit mid project and mid um development, but I don't think I've ever seen someone get replaced after the game is out.
Yeah, I think they're mainly just going to be focusing on the like the updates and everything, and seeing how
Well, yeah, because
what the hot fixes are going to be, fixing everything just to make sure that the game
Well, I believe they
is good.
I believe
I mean,
they.
I think that's what's going to be.
Sorry, I believe they said that they've canceled the multiplayer, they've canceled the DLC, and they're just their own focus right now is patching and like improving.
Yeah, and as someone who played at launch, I can say that the game is running a lot more smoothly. I haven't ran into any bugs. I started a new playthrough just to make sure that I can, get what I can out of the game. And so far, it's running really good.
Yeah, our second follow-up comes to us from Forbes, and it is by Paul Tassi, and it said Cyberpunk 2077 still has 60% of the development team working on it. We're approaching the 6 months post-release for 2077, and as far as we know, there's still a lot of work to be done. Patches and fixes as the game tries to get back on the PlayStation Store, free DLC coming to the existing version, PS5 and Xbox Series X next-gen versions coming before the end of the year, and a large Witcher 3 style paid DLC sometime in 2022. So apparently I have no idea what I'm talking about. The DLC is still happening. This week, CD Projekt Red revealed it still has 300 people working on Cyberpunk 2077 6 months later, even with many people departing after the original game was released and they got their bonuses. That needed some context, so it's pretty significant given that Cyberpunk had 400 people working on it in 2019 and was later up to 500 people in 2020. So in short, at least 60% of the development team is still working on a game ahead of... So in short, at least 60% of the total development team working on the game ahead of its release is still working on the game now. And then it goes more into, the all the other stuff. So again, as I post to every guest this year, and I think you kind of alluded to yourself, should they even bother still saving with this game? Like, what do you really think is the best course for Cyberpunk to take? Because this game continues to be an anomaly. Because I know people use the No Man's Sky example, but like, I think
it's getting the No Man's Sky treatment.
I think they're trying to, but the thing for me is, of all the patches and all the stuff I've heard, I think the thing most people forget is that people didn't just have issue with the technical specs. Like, it was also the base game. Like, just the way that the cops spawned, and like everyone was supposed to have this unique, dynamic, lifestyle, and they would do their things, and they would live their life, and like whatever, and it was kind of a lot more scripted and segmented than people were expecting. And so, like, just for me personally, I just feel like they're trying to put a bandage on stuff, and like I don't like, to a certain point, I don't think you can really patch the game into being good again. But that could just be like, do you think they can really get a point where people go, like, not even the DLC, like just base Cyberpunk, they're gonna go, oh wow, this game is good now? Because like me personally, I feel if the mission structure and the way the world is set up, like, you can't fix that through patches. You just have to start from scratch, unfortunately.
So I don't think there was an issue with the main story for the game. I think a lot of people just got overhyped for it and were wanting it to be the next Witcher 3, where The Witcher 3 had, almost 100 and some odd hours of content for main story and the expansions as well.
Well, yeah, I
think people got too overhyped I'm one of them. I'm definitely one of the people who definitely got overhyped. But
Well, again, no one
it's
said it was
definitely
bad.
going to be a.
Yeah, no one said it
What's
was
that?
bad. No one said it was bad. It was just that, oh, this is just a competent RPG. This is a pretty good RPG. That people were expecting.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, people were expecting this to be the next Witcher, to push RPGs forward, to be like a staple of what RPGs would be going forward. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's just a pretty good game. And that's what disappointed a lot of people. Like, God bless Starfield.
I mean, that's
Starfield is gonna have must be a nightmare to develop for, because there's so much hype going into that game.
yeah. Starfield's gonna have some issues. I'm calling that now. That people are going to hate Starfield. Everyone's gonna get overhyped for it, and yeah, it's just gonna be. It's gonna be a show, which I think every release now is going to be kind of a show.
But yeah, so
And a lot of people were just with this were kind of upset with the way, what is it? Just the way everything was handled with the release, because they pushed it back 21 days to where they're like, yeah, we just want to make sure it runs on the previous gen consoles, and like base gen, like original release PS4 and Xbox Ones were running the game horribly.
well, like,
So yeah, it's gonna be.
well, the thing I posit to you is, out of the three, like, do you think they should just keep patching it and like slowly improve it over time? Just say, yeah, kind of go, okay, what are game-breaking bugs, and then focus on the DLC, or you think you should just drop it all together and go like, all right, we screwed that up, we messed up. Witcher 4 is getting all our attention. We're sorry, because like, even
I do not think they should do that.
well,
I absolutely do not think they should do that.
because even what was it, Andromeda? Like, I know a lot. Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda had a lot of issues at launch, and again, it's one of those things. From what
They
people
build
have
on
said,
that too.
they've patched it and they've improved it, but I still think if you ask,
Not
not a lot, but if you still
Okay.
ask gamers, they're
because this is kind of a. This is a very. I have a lot of emotions when it comes to BioWare as well, because Andromeda was one of the games I was really excited for, and then I played it and I was like, this is absolute crap. Anthem, one of the games I was really, really excited for, absolute dog crap. And the fact that they're using COVID as the reasoning for canceling Anthem next, there was no saving Anthem. Anthem had worse reviews than Cyberpunk did. So, yeah, it's not. I don't think those games were worth saving, especially for people who paid for the top dollar edition and aren't getting anything in return. That's where it's kind of like just a giant middle finger, in my opinion. But I still think Cyberpunk is worth saving. I think Cyberpunk will get the No Man's Sky treatment, because I mean, No Man's Sky was bad for what, 2 years ish, give or take.
about that.
And then it came back, and now it's like back on top as one of the best games to play right now.
Yeah.
And all the updates they're adding and everything for it. I think Cyberpunk will get that treatment. I don't think it will take as long to get that treatment, but they're definitely it's going to be close.
Okay. Well, hopefully, we will see. Because again, that's the main thing. It's like I don't. As I kick my mic around, I have a new mic coming. I'm very happy for it. It just I need to take time to install it. Yeah, because that's the main thing. Is like I think in the gaming community, it's easy to hate and pick on and whatever. It's fun to make memes and all this other stuff. But like on that thing, I'm generally upset that this game didn't work out well, and I hope it can get to a point where people are like, oh yeah, I'm really excited. Oh yeah, I really want this. I just personally don't see it happening anytime soon. But like you said, all we can do is really give them the benefit of the doubt and see how things play out. Hi, it's Future Vinny here with a quick show update. Just because of the way the episode being delayed and everything, we're actually in a very fortuitous situation where we have a news update, and it's that Cyberpunk 2077 has finally returned to the PlayStation Store. And this article comes to us from The Verge and by Addie Robertson. CD Projekt Red says Cyberpunk 2077 will return to the PlayStation Store on June 21st, slightly more than 6 months after being removed. As Polygon notes, the news came in a regulatory disclosure by Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt Red, parent company, saying Sony has agreed to reinstate the game. So something the article does not mention that happened since it published afterwards is it now comes with a disclosure where it's this little blurb when you buy it where it just says runs best or plays best on PS4 Pro or PS5. So that's really it. There's not much more to say. It's crazy to see, we're finally here. It felt like this day would never come. But I just, again, we've already talked it to death. But any last minute thoughts that now that it's back on the store, now that it's, hopefully this is going to be the end of all the drama, would you still recommend people go checking out now that they actually have the opportunities to, sir? Or would you just tell them to wait for the PS5 version?
Yeah, go play it. I mean, you get a free upgrade to the PS5 regardless. So, I mean, just go play the damn game. It's fun. It's a really good time.
I'm very excited to. Well, actually, especially because I think the PS5 was delayed to like the fall.
It's coming out the second half of the year, so at some point.
But yep, that's all we wanted to do. Just a quick little news updatey thing. Hopefully, this is the last we will ever do of the Cyberpunk corner on this show, but we'll see. But now we join a regularly scheduled show already in progress. Let's go to our next story, which is about Dreamscom 2021. And this comes to us from Game Informer. Dreams is a phenomenal PlayStation experience that lets players create their own adventures through limitless assets powered by their own creativity. With 2020 being mostly digital to COVID, the game industry and many others have been changed forever. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though. Case in point, Sony got in touch with its creative side, offering a convention experience filled with developers, interviews, and an interactive floor, and so much more, all powered by Dreams. Dreamscom made its debut in 2020 because of the global pandemic, and now it's back once more, with the objective of providing a digital experience dedicated to the community to show off the brilliance of creators within a game, look closer at what it's like to be a developer, and a plethora of surprises for gamers to unlock. June 28th is when Dreamscom 21 will open up. Of course, it's all made in Dreams and will allow attendees to pursue creator booths, various halls, and more. The Dreamscom 2021 experience will continue until August 2nd to give people enough time to explore it all. From developer panels to just getting inspiration for your own creations, it's a brilliant way for the community to come together, and regardless of where they live. And I totally forgot to say, this is from Liana Rupert, so thank you for that, Liana. But yes, so Dreamscon. So this kind of ties into the whole thing going on, because right now it is E3 week and whatnot. And the thing I'm going to pose to you, sir, is what are your thoughts about doing these digital shows? And, like, not even just beyond, because right now, like from an outsider's perspective, like me personally, nothing has really changed this E3. I watch it at home. I watch it, streaming. Like, I don't go out and do it publicly. So, like, for me, for E3, quote-unquote, going digital, that affects me in no way. Nothing has changed about my plans.
Yeah. Same thing. I mean, I've only ever been to a few cons, and they were mainly just like the Indie Pop Con and a couple of the local Comic Cons for the States, not like San Diego Comic Con. Mm-hmm. It's the same as that. Like, it's just it's cool. I'm excited, but you're right. It doesn't affect me in any way because I've not been able to go to that. I've never gone to PAX. I've never gone to E3, so I don't. Well, cool that we're getting more of these events, but still, here's
I don't care.
With this.
I actually really love the idea of Dreamscom, and I wish E3 would do this. And I've been saying it for years. I don't know like how logistically possible it is, because didn't Jeff Keighley do basically like a game demo thing for last Summer Game Fest?
Vinny, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was working third shift last year during Gamescom. I don't remember anything.
Well, basically,
I don't remember anything.
I don't remember what specific conference it was, but I remember they did basically. They were releasing this app, and basically all the games that were gonna be at the show floor, they were gonna put together into one like file, basically, and that way you could play all the indie games and all the other stuff, at your house. So you didn't have to go to PAX, or you didn't have to go to this place. You could play all the new indie games, and like there was a limited thing. The application would stop working after a few weeks, but you could still try these new indie games from your own house. And I thought that was really cool. And doing Dreamscom, where you have this virtual stage and all this other thing, like I really would love, and again I know they can't, but like actually I might be wrong, but like basically just give me an experience like PlayStation Home, but just for E3. Let me walk around the booths, let me see the stuff, like just put the trailers in, like, you know, make an application, put the demos in there, put the trailers in there, maybe like have it connect to Twitch, so like you go to the hall and you can actually watch these presentations from the game itself. Like I think that's far more cool, and that's far more engaging than simply clicking a link and going onto Twitch and watching somebody else's reaction.
Yeah.
So that's what, like, would you be interested at all in like having a digital experience like that, or do you just like feel it's kind of not worth the effort and the oversight? Like it's just like, just give me the trailer. I don't want to go with all this fluff.
I honestly don't know. I think it'd be cool to like have like an interactive thing to where I could walk around to the booths and stuff, but it's still like it. I don't know, because like when it comes to E3 and stuff like that, all I care about are the game announcements. Mm-hmm. That's all I care about.
Yep.
I watch the conferences, and like even then, I don't watch all of them. I watch the big ones, like, you know, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. I watched Bethesda, and that was it was a crap show. I think it's cool.
Exactly. I don't think it should be the sole thing. I'm not saying they should completely get rid of the show floor. I'm just saying it'd be a nice, you know, a thing. I would totally be fine paying, even if you had to pay like $5-10 just to get the virtual thing. Like
that's all I care.
Yeah, exactly. Just give me. I think it's kind of. It is just that, like, for an outsider who like can't go to E3 every year, it just kind of sucks that, like, you know, for me, once the conferences are over, in my mind, E3's over. Even though they're still typically like 2 or 3 days after that, it's just like, okay, cool. Yeah, you guys are just demoing a game. You're doing this, like, you know. But I feel like if I could explore the thing, right, if I could play these things, it would kind of keep that E3 hype going just a little bit longer. But yeah, so let's move on to our next news story, which comes to us from the PlayStation blog. And it's that they have formed a new studio called Team Asobi from the creators of Astrobot. And this comes to us from Nicholas. Oh god, this really sounds like a bad word. Doucette, Doucet. And the super.
I don't care about Astrobot.
Well, yeah, the super. Well,
that's just my thoughts. I just don't care about Astrobot.
Well, the super short is, the team was first assembled in 2012. In Japanese language, the word asobi literally means to play, so we settled on asobi. So the super short is they were kind of like a sub-team of Studio Japan, and now they've broken out to their own, they're their own, what's the word, they're on their studio now, because Studio Japan closed down and was shuttered and whatever. So my main thing for you is this, you know, people loved Astrobot. People loved, oh god, what is the other one? There's always a third one in between. I forget what it is. They loved Playroom. So my main thing is like, do you like? I guess just for me, they're really the only developer Sony has right now that's doing consistent platformers, and I think that's what has me most excited. Is hopefully that now that they've shown that Astrobot's good and they've shown that Playroom's good. Hopefully this means we get a new platformer game soon.
I hope so. 4 platformers, but once again, don't have a PS5. Don't really care right now. Like, it's cool. I'm happy for people that like it, but it's so hard to get one that I'm just like,
Yep.
I'm kind of worn out on it. It's just like with the new graphics card for the PC. Like, I can't get a 3080. That's fine. I'll just play with what I can.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move on to other Sony developments, and it's that Sony is developing an AI subsidiary, Sony's AI subsidiary is developing smarter opponents and teammates for PlayStation games, and this comes to us from The Verge by James Vincent. In 2019, Sony quietly established a subsidiary dedicated to researching artificial intelligence. What the company plans to do with this tech has always been unclear, but a recent corporate strategy meeting offers a little more information. Sony AI has begun a collaboration with PlayStation that will make games experiences even richer and more enjoyable, says a note from recent strategy presentation. By leveraging reinforcement learning, we are developing game AI agents that can be a player's in-game opponent or collaboration partner. And it goes more into it, but the one thing I would say to you, and actually it's kind of funny you were talking about the whole Call of Duty thing, about how you have annoying partners. If the AI got to the point where, because they go more into it, and they're saying how it uses your friend's data and all this other stuff, and like it basically makes a virtual version of yourself, so that even when your friends are not online playing, they'll do the similar tactics or play the similar way they do, so that you can continue to play even if it's by yourself. Is that anything
That
you would
is how some RPGs start, Vinny. It goes bad every time. No, I don't want AI at the moment. No, I'm sorry. And you know what? I've saved it. So get ready for that timestamp, because that.
Yeah.
No.
The thing for me is just like, I don't. It's cool in idea, in concept, but like I don't know, man. If I don't have a person to play with, I'm not gonna use a computer. That just seems weird.
I've never had good luck with AI partners in any game, so
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
We sell sashimi. I don't know what happened there. But what's happening right now is that we're gonna move on to our next news story, and it is that GTA 5 for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X finally has a release date. I accidentally closed the page. It's coming in November. Not much more to say about it. It sucks that now there is a time limit on the free cast for PlayStation Plus. But what was it? They announced it when was the PlayStation 5 reveal? Last August? The one thing I've always posed to people, and even Rockstar themselves has not said, what the heck do you even do to GTA 5 on PS5? Like,
Nothing. It's gonna be nothing at this point.
But
it's
no,
just gonna be another.
the thing I loved about the PS3 to PS4 was like the random updates. They were like, oh, there's more grass, and now there's cows, guys. Now there's cows and different wildlife, and like I think they added whales.
They just need to quit porting the damn game. That's all I have to say.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what can you feasibly add to 5 at this point? Oh, now there's, I wouldn't even know, rain.
It's just money. That's all they're getting. It's just the next version of the game. It's like Skyrim. They don't really change anything. They're like, oh, well, there's been some graphical improvements.
I'm just very curious to see how they try and sell this, because like, what's even more interesting is they keep saying the standalone version of GTA 5. So I'm really curious if they're gonna just break out GTA Online.
I don't know at this point.
I mean, probably not, because the only reason I have GTA 4 on PS4 is because I bought it for online. So But yeah, so we're gonna move on from that. And just hop over to Gamatsu, where they report that PlayStation 5 has gained over 5 million subscribers in the last year. And this comes to us. There is no writer, so it was written by a ghost. Oh wait, it's Alyssa McAloon. PlayStation Plus, the PlayStation branded subscription service for online multiplayer and monthly games, is nearing 50 million subscribers. According to Sony's internal numbers, the PlayStation Plus boasts a roughly 47.6 million subscribers as of March 31st, 2021. That's up over just 6 million from the 41.5 million reported back in March 2021, and nearly tenfold from when the PS4 first launched in 2024. So yeah, small, quick one. Not much to say. It's dope to see. I still will never understand how we live in a world where people don't have these services, but that is just a me thing.
I mean, we don't get some that kind of stuff on PC. I mean, we get a free game with Epic Games every week, but sometimes it's hit or miss.
Because I've had people go like, "Oh, I've canceled my Plus because like I don't need it anymore." It's like should it not be 1-to-1? Like there's 40 million PS4s, so there should be 40 million plus. Like who is playing a PS4 but not multiplayer? That's what I'm getting at.
A lot of people actually, because a lot of people just prefer story-based games.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I think like just for the value, it's like $50 a year. You get a bunch of free games. You get online. Like it's one of those things. Like yeah, it kind of makes it like it. I don't know. I just enjoy having the option to do multiplayer compared to if I had to, because I know some people would just buy Plus, like let's say like for what is it? It Takes Two or A Way Out or anything like that. They'll buy the subscription for the game and then they'll cancel it as soon as like the co-op game's done.
Yeah.
Yep. And our next story comes to us from TechRaptor, excuse me, and it's that Sony loses an appeal case over PlayStation Plus collection sharing in Brazil. And this comes to us from Joseph Allen. Sony has lost an appeal case over a lawsuit in Brazil regarding whether users can share accounts to access to its PlayStation Plus collection service. The gaming giant was appealing a decision where it was told it couldn't deactivate users' PS5 consoles over sharing the collection. This news comes to us from Brazilian tech platform Tecnoblog. In its appeal against the suit, Sony said it banned the users because account sharing, that is, allowing other users access to the PlayStation Plus collection without those users paying a subscription fee, is against the terms of service for PlayStation Plus. According to Sony, this regulation is crystal clear, but the Sao Paulo Court of Justice disagreed, stating that neither this specific case nor the punishment for breaking its rule are clear enough in the terms of service. As such, the court upheld its original ruling. It's worth noting that a previous court justice of Sao Paulo ruling already found that Sony isn't legally allowed to block users' consoles from selling the PlayStation Plus collection. My computer is freezing. Still, this isn't likely to feel good for Sony, even if this ruling doesn't appeal outside of Brazil. When it emerged last year that users were selling or sharing access to the PlayStation Plus collection, thousands of bans were issued in places like Hong Kong. So it's clear Sony doesn't want users doing this anytime soon. Any impediment to stop the company from blocking users to trying to share their collection to the PlayStation Plus correctly isn't likely to go well down at Sony HQ. So yeah. It's kind of very simple, just a quickie, but I do think it's kind of crazy about the whole game sharing and this and whatever. And you were telling me before how that you and your friend actually share game, like you share a profile basically. So I just wanted to hear your thought on Sony potentially trying to do this in other places.
I mean, my best friend and I, we've game shared on Xbox, PlayStation for years. I mean, and it's not just one of us, buying and then like selling our accounts or anything. It's, hey, we buy I'll buy a game, and then he'll buy a game. I'll buy a game, and then he'll buy a game. We just kind of go back and forth. So we rotate on like the big titles. Like for Cyberpunk 2077, if I was still on console when that game came out, I would have bought it, and then he would have bought. I don't know, the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Like we go back and forth.
Now that you mention it, I'm kind of curious, like how. To be perfectly honest, I haven't even checked the terms of service. Because don't you only technically need one plus per console? Because that's what me and my brother did back in the day, was that he was the master account. But because he had plus, I had access to the games as long as his account was logged into the PlayStation. But like hypothetically, if he logged in to a different PlayStation, I couldn't play those games.
I don't know. We've never shared plus, so.
I'm like, this is one of those things like, good. Hopefully Sony, doesn't go crazy and try to do this elsewhere, because I don't imagine it going well for them. Especially with Microsoft doing like, play anywhere, do this, whatever. Like, if Sony's like, no, you all need your Plus account, you all need this account, like, I think that's probably going to look like a bad look on them. And speaking of legal shenanigans, this next one comes to us from PR Newswire, and it's that Sony is being sued for overage charges on PlayStation games, and this comes to us from the Joseph Severe law firm. The Joseph Severe law firm filed a class action lawsuit in federal court in California against Sony Interactive Entertainment and its parent company, Sony Group Corporation, on behalf of users of Sony's wildly popular PlayStation video game consoles. In the suit, the plaintiff Adrian Cendejas, Cndejas, represents a proposed class of more than 1 million individual users across the U.S. who have allegedly been overcharged billions of dollars on their product of digital copies of video games through the PlayStation Store. The complaint brings claim under Section 2 of the Sherman Act, which prohibits illegal monopolization. Sony's released its latest edition of the PlayStation 5, or PS5 as it's commonly called, in 2020, and it quickly became the fastest-selling gaming console in U.S. history. Sony sells 2 versions of the PS5, including a digital-only version called the PS5 Digital Edition. As the name suggests, the PS5 Digital Edition lacks an optical disc drive. The only way to play video game consoles is to purchase digital copies of video games. Sony made digital copies available on its console through its PlayStation Store, a virtual marketplace owned and operated by Sony that comes preloaded onto the PS5 Digital Edition. Historically, consumers could also purchase these digital download codes from retailers and game developers that could be entered into the PlayStation Store to play video games. The complaint alleges that in the run-up to the release of the PS5 Digital Edition, Sony decided to prohibit realtors and game developers from selling digital download codes for PlayStation video games. Sony also allegedly requires publishers to give it full control over the resale price of video games. According to the complaint, Sony made these decisions to eliminate the price competition for digital copies of PlayStation video games and forced the publishers to pay a hefty 30% commission fee to sell games through the PlayStation Store. Remember that, because we're going to be talking about that later. Sony also allegedly caused consumers to pay higher prices for video games. An analysis of 3 popular video games for the PS5, including in the complaint, found that the digital copies of the games available on the PlayStation Store were significantly more expensive than their physical counterpart sold by retailers, even though digital copies of video games are expected to be less. Even with these super competitive prices, the complainant alleges that the consumers lack the realistic ability to switch consoles. Consoles range from $300 to $600 at retail, a cost most consumers would not incur despite the high price for digital video games. Consumers also generally have a larger sunken cost to their video game libraries. While PS4 games can be played on PS5, they cannot be played on other platforms like Microsoft, Xbox, or Nintendo Switch. Sony is the latest company to insult the marketplace from a price competition through anti-competitive means, tying the PlayStation Store to the PS5 Digital Edition and destroying retailers' ability to compete for sales of digital copies in video games. As media goes digital, we expect to see prices go down since the costs associated with physical media, including manufacturing, packaging, transportation, and storing, are limited. Instead, we see several tech companies, Sony being the latest, monopolizing digital media so they can reap the rewards of the entrapped audience. The conduct is anti-competitive and consumers are being harmed. Okay, so that was a whole trip. Um, but let's break this down a little bit. So this guy is suing Sony because he doesn't like that the only place you can like buy games on a PlayStation is off the PlayStation Store. He does.
Oh. So hold on. So he's upset that the only place he can buy PlayStation games.
Yes, because that's his other one. I forgot about that part. Consumers, while PS4 games can be played on PS5, they cannot be played on Microsoft, Xbox, or Switch.
Oh, so you mean like every game for a console for the past how long? Since the beginning? So he's upset. Hold on. This guy is the type of person who goes to McDonald's, gets a cup of coffee, and then sues them for it being hot.
He's the type of person who's like, I want a Whopper. Why aren't you giving me a Whopper?
No, this whole thing's invalid.
I don't imagine this going anywhere. This is just one of those frivolous.
Oh God. The pure stupidity is actually making my head hurt.
This is one of those cases where like I'm suing Sony for $40 trillion. Like the company doesn't have that much. It's like, yeah, but I'm just doing it for the headline. Like the one thing I will say, which we'll get into a little bit, kind of using this as a springboard, is he is right in a really stupid way, because this is kind of Epic's whole basis for their lawsuit with Apple, is that they want to put the Epic Game Store on, on mobile, and right now you have to use the Play Store or the App Store. Those are your only two options. So I will give him that.
Well, before that, like with Fortnite, the only way to redeem it on a mobile device was through the actual Samsung Galaxy app, exclusive to the Galaxy phones.
I remember that people were like selling, what is it, like Fortnite skins, basically. It was like a $10,000 skin and you got a phone for free, basically.
It's ridiculous on that whole thing.
But yeah, like I said, I'm using that springboard because as he talks here, he says that Sony forces publishers to pay a hefty 30% commission fee to sell video games through their PlayStation Store. And using that, we're going to hop over to... Why is my computer freezing? I just turned it on today. The6axis.com, and this is Microsoft will not reduce their Xbox store cut to 12% despite confidential document leaks. And this one comes to us from Stephen L. Microsoft will not be reducing purchases made on the Xbox store to 12% despite an intention being revealed in a previously confidential document. While the company is still reducing fees to 12% on the Windows 10 store, they'll still be retaining the standard 70-30 split on Xbox purchases. Yes, so again, this is the whole, this whole, I will go into it in a little bit, but yeah, like, this whole Epic Apple thing just feels like a whole, like ex-lovers scorn on Facebook where they're just dragging other people in because apparently Xbox thought about it and they're like, no, because that's the industry standard. And then if my computer loads, we're also going to hop over to the GameIndustry.biz, and this one is Sony charges developers for cross-platform play, court document reveals. It comes to us from Danielle Partis. Sony may have been charging developers to implement cross-play on PlayStation. According to new documents that surfaced as part of the ongoing Epic and Apple lawsuit, as well as testimonial from Epic CEO Tim Sweeney. Sweeney confirmed that Sony is the only platform that is asking for cross-play compensation. He also stated that Epic agreed to pay these fees to enable cross-play in the PlayStation version of Fortnite.
I'm not shocked. Because, I mean, if we look at it, PlayStation has never played, or Sony's never played nice when it came to crossplay.
So using those two stories as a kind of springboard, we'll start with the Xbox one first. Because they're kind of, that was also Epic's kind of claim, is like, hey, we're supporting developers. Apple is 70-30 and we're 80-20 or 80-12 or 88-12 or whatever, excuse me. And here's the thing, like, at the end of the day, this is just big corporations fighting with each other. I don't think, like, Epic says, oh, we want to be for the consumers. We want to do this. We want to do that. At the end of the day, it's just about these companies making money. Like, cool. I'm glad. Like,
that's all the game industry's ever been, though.
but like, I think the thing that just kind of upsets me is that Epic is trying to position themselves as the little guys. Like, oh, we're trying to stand up to Apple. We're trying to fight for you guys. It's like, no, you guys just want money. The only reason you want store on iPhones is so you can make money. You don't care if some third party like startup has their own app launcher. You just want that rule gone so you can make money. And then kind of swinging back to Sony, that is the same thing with as crappy as it is. That's why I'm, like you said, I'm not shocked, but I am disappointed that they are charging for crossplay. Because again, I can't remember who said it. I listened to so many different sources, but the one person did come out and they were basically like, hey, I've yet to find anyone who tell me how crossplay makes Sony money, how it increases sales for Sony, which is like awful and it's crappy, but it's like they're 100% right because, excuse me, God, does Scarlet Nexus have multiplayer? Just say for argument's sake, let's just say it does. Like if let's say it has crossplay and whatever, and it's co-op.
Borderlands is getting crossplay, but PS4 is not getting the crossplay. It looks like.
I suspect it's probably because of this fee that Sony is charging. Let's say I buy Borderlands on PS4. I'm like, oh, I'm enjoying this game. Hey, Richey, you should play with me. You want to do it? And you're like, okay, well, I found an Xbox copy that's like $20 off. I'm gonna go get it on Xbox. That's cool. We're playing together. But nowhere in that equation is Sony making money.
Right.
Which it's awful and it's crappy, but I understand it. I don't like it. I don't support it, but I get it. Because even right now, using Fortnite as the example, they have this whole wonky system where I goofed up and basically because I played on PS4 before Switch, but Switch is where I primarily played. So I bought the V-Bucks on PlayStation. But I guess the V-Bucks I bought on PlayStation are tied to my...
They do not transfer. Yeah, they do not transfer. So this is where it gets weird. So, no, it's on Xbox as well. Because if I play on Switch and I go to like PC or something, my V-Bucks will not transfer over.
Really now?
The only way they will transfer over is if they are a part of the Battle Pass.
Okay, that's what it might be. Okay. Yes, because
That's exactly what it is. Trust me, I've done a lot with that.
Yes, because I was explaining that to my fiance the other day, where I'm like, oh, I need to go home and see how much money I have because my PlayStation wallet is much bigger than my Switch wallet because I guess the Switch one only has the V-Bucks. Mm-hmm. Knowing that, like, if I want to make a purchase on Fortnite, even though the content carries over, if I want to buy that stuff, I have to buy it on PlayStation. So that I have the most money and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah. So this whole situation is annoying and it's awful and I don't know. I'm never gonna be done with Sony, but like, it just feels like every time we're like, oh cool, like we're making progress, we're doing it. We're like, oh no, okay, we just stepped on the rake again. Hopefully, like I know the new hotness right now is WNDs, like weird Nintendo decisions. Sony does a lot of weird, not even weird, just annoying Sony decisions.
Yeah.
But yeah. But before we actually, well, I'm gonna chuck this one last in here. And this comes to us from thegamer.com, and it's that a browser plugin now allows access to the old PlayStation Store for buying PS3, Vita, and PSP games. And this one comes to us from Joshua Henry. Never underestimate a gamer. It seemed that Sony was going to completely get rid of the web version of the PlayStation Store and thus eliminate the ability to purchase PS3, PSP, and Vita games. However, a new browser plugin has emerged that allows access to the old storefront once again. This is great news for players who still want access to their games for legacy systems. The new plugin
Okay.
Grants users access to your store that was available before Sony revamped it back in October in preparation for the PS5. The store is completely functional and allowing users to buy and download PS Vita and PS3 content and download it to their console. This is now this is very important. This is now the only way the players can download these games without using the system's own software. Plus, it provides an easy-to-use download list so you can quickly choose what you want to install. It does not. That's a lie. But yeah, so again, this is also another weird Sony decision where they, took away the web store. I will say this one is less egregious because, as they said in this article, this is a very specific situation a person who does this, I feel.
Right.
Again, you can still access the PS3 and the PSP store off the PSP itself. This is just if you wanted to download it, like hook it up to your computer, go to the website and then do it then, I guess, because you don't want your credit card information on the PSP. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things like I don't know how many people are touching their PS3 and PSP right now. I don't even know how many less are like download. Like what was the last time you downloaded a game off a computer, sir? That wasn't off of Steam.
Valorant, because it's a part of the League of Legends, Vanguard thing. That Genshin Impact and yeah, that's it.
Because I believe, again, going back to Fortnite, Fortnite Mobile is still technically supported. It's just this weird workaround where you have to install the software yourself as opposed to installing it through the Play Store.
That one I don't know. I can look real quick though.
But yeah, again, like there's weird Sony decisions where I'm like, okay, why don't you have crossplay? Why, it's annoying, but I do agree with people. It's still it's weird that we're 6 months in and they haven't said anything about expandable storage.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of weird stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not on the App Store still.
I'm saying I believe you can still play Fortnite Mobile. You just have to install the software yourself.
Right.
So like that's what I'm saying. I'm like, that's the only time I could really think about in recent years of like having to hook up my phone or my Switch to the thing. Like, but yeah. So Sony's gonna be Sony. I love them for it. They make a lot of dumb decisions, but we still love them. But they also make some smart ones. And speaking of smart ones, our next news story comes to us from NME.com, and it's that the Days Gone port is a Steam top seller, beating Resident Evil Village and Mass Effect. And this one comes to us from Miri Teixeira. The PC port of Days Gone has hit the Steam's top sellers ranking, coming out number 1 above Resident Evil and Mass Effect Legendary Edition. This is my feeling song. Okay, there's really not more to it.
They're both good games.
But then kind of a to that comes to us from Polygon, and it's that Uncharted 4 is coming to PC, and this comes to us from Owen S. Good. Mr. Good. Sony plans to launch Uncharted 4 on PC, according to a presentation showed to Investor. A slide noting more PC releases planned is Days Gone, which released on May 18th, and Uncharted 4, which debuted on PlayStation 4 in May 2016. And then they offered it in April 2020 for PlayStation Plus. So Uncharted's coming, Days Gone is coming. So the thing first off I'll ask you is, what's your whole thought about Sony putting these kind of quote unquote legacy titles on PlayStation? They're like, they really do, because there's Days Gone, there's Uncharted, there's Horizon.
So far, all the PlayStation titles that are on PC, quote unquote, PlayStation exclusives are Death Stranding, Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn. Those are the big 3. We have Uncharted coming, apparently. I haven't seen any release information on it yet, but hopefully we get that soon. It's rumored we're hopefully getting God of War and also Sekiro, and I just need them. I need them now.
So that's gonna say. So first off, what's your thought on Sony releasing this, content? Because
I love them.
there's a lot of people who's like, no, it's an ODB on PlayStation. I bought a PlayStation for these games, and I'm like, none of these games are like right after launch. They're usually 2 or 3 years after the game has come out. It's done. It's like sales. Like it's just kind of stagnant.
Death Stranding, I think, was like a little after, or about a year, roughly.
When right when the game comes out.
Right, but also Death Stranding wasn't Sony Interactive. It was just Kojima Studios or whatever.
But yeah, so I'm fine with it. I will give them this. I don't want it to be day and date. I think that might be a step too far. But like, if they're like, hey,
Give it a year.
year and a half, and kind of springboarding, like you already said earlier. What games would you like to see kind of ported? Because the rumor right now is that it's gonna be Ghost of Tsushima. Just because there was like a box art update and it removed the only for PlayStation logo.
Well, also a few days ago, as of us recording this part, Final Fantasy VII Remake was had a code leak from the Epic Game Store.
That one's like it's also apparently coming to Xbox at some point, but we'll see.
Yeah, everyone's like, yeah, it's coming, and it's like, no, it's not.
Excluding any of the other ones we've discussed. What PlayStation game? Like, let's keep it like pre 2009. Any PS4 game you would love to see on PC?
You mean post 2009?
No, because like before 2009. That's what I mean. Because that's why we're
Before 2009, like that's like
2019. I'm sorry.
oh, Judas Priest, dude. I was like, what the? Spider-Man would be a good one.
I could see Spider-Man. Just popped in my head while we were talking is the Order 1886. I feel like that would be a great.
No.
Why not?
Just no. It's the game's not good.
I mean, I feel like that would be a quick, easy, like a free bone, basically. Like, hey, here's a free PC game. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh yeah, if I get it for free, then yes. But I'm not paying. I'm not paying $39.99 for it. No. You stop it.
The one. No, you were also.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing like The Last of Us or Infamous.
Oh yes.
Come to. Even Ratchet and Clank. I mean. I think a good one would be Shadow of the Colossus, just because of how.
Oh my god! With like in 4
beautifully that would run.
Like I'm not one of those dorks, but 4K, like 60 F. I feel like that is a game that could really be a visual stunner.
Oh, it would run higher than 60 FPS. It would probably get up to like 240 or something. I don't know.
But yes, one last one I'm gonna throw to you is, would you play God of War on PC?
Oh hell yeah!
Okay. Well,
I'd play all the PlayStation exclusives on PC.
Well, speaking of God of War, our last news story for today is that God of War 2 has unfortunately been delayed. Well, not just it's been delayed to 2022, and it will also come to us from PS4. And this comes to us from IGN.
Cory Barlog himself.
This report comes from IGN, but yes, Cory Barlog.
Okay.
Who reported, and this is from Adam Bankhurst. Sony has announced that the sequel to 2018's God of War has been delayed to 2022, and that the much-anticipated game will be released on both PS4 and PS5. Head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Hulst, announced on the PlayStation blog in a Q&A where he discussed what's next for PlayStation. He stated that Horizon Forbidden West is still on track for a holiday release. God of War started a little too late, so the decision was to push the game to 2020 to ensure it is the amazing God of War game that we all want to play. So, I'll go with the first part. Is just what's your thought on the delay?
Honestly, I think it was perfect. I knew. Yeah, I'm not shocked at all. Honestly, I saw this coming when they announced it, just because of the pandemic and everything. And when they're like, "Oh yeah, it's originally going to be a PS5 exclusive," I think it was kind of a middle finger to people who can't get a PS5 at the moment. So we're still in that, like, how do I put this? We're still in that weird phase where it's the beginning of the generation, and even last gen, yes, there were exclusives to the Xbox One and PS4, but a majority of the games were still PS3, Xbox 360. Even some of the big exclusives, like Titanfall, there was a 360 version.
The one I think I always forget about. There's a 360 version of Destiny 1.
Yeah, there is. I had the 360 version of Destiny 1. I think it's good that they are doing the PS4 release for God of War Ragnarok, just because, I mean, with how hard it's been to get a PS5, like, I've sat in queues trying to get one, and as soon as I get one in my cart and I go to the next page, sold out immediately. So it's just, yeah, it's kind of props to Santa Monica Studios.
I think the biggest thing for me is okay, like, yes, again, annoying Sony decision. They fully lied to us. They're like, oh, we believe in generations, and then half the games have been cross-gen. But, like, if we really break it down, like, the last 6 games, what was it? So you have Demon Souls, Spider-Man, Ratchet, Returnal.
But Spider-Man was on PS4.
Horizon, and God of War. Demon Souls, Ratchet, and Returnal are still PS5 only.
Right.
If it was like Fallout, like they lied and like all the games were on PS4, it's like, okay, that's annoying. That's crappy. You shouldn't have done that. It's still a nice. I still think it's an even match where it's like, okay, cool. Hey, if you, whatever reason, my Google Assistant just went off. If you sold your PS4 and you only have a PS5, you still have a fairly beefy bit of content for you to play. And if you can't get a PS5, you still, you're not going to necessarily be missing out. I think there is that nice middle ground where they're doing just enough to justify your purchase, but not too much that you feel like you're being left out.
Yeah.
Because, yes, I especially with COVID and everything, like, I guess the last thing I'll kind of pose to you is that, like, when do you think God of War is the last one to do this? Because we really don't know a lot of their studios. We don't know what most of their studios are doing. So going forward, do you think we're going to see any more games that are going to be cross-gen, or do you think God of War will most likely be the last one?
Well, it depends. I think Elden Ring might be one of the last. Well, no, God of War's coming out after Elden Ring. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I definitely think COVID pushed their plans back, but at least in my area, and personally, like, we're actually opening up much faster than I thought I would be, because, like, I've always been kind of a stick in the mud. I've told people, like, October, that's when life will get back to normal, and, like, now it's looking like I could see September, like, early September, maybe late July. I could see that, but yeah, I still feel like with COVID and everything, like, for the next little bit, we're still going to be stuck in that weird transitional bubble of of having things delayed and affected and all that.
Yeah.
But that will do it for another episode of the PlayStation Plus podcast. As I scramble the find my notes. Yes. But yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Richey, Richadolphus, Mr. Streamer Boy. I appreciate the heck out of this. This episode has been literally blood, sweat, and tears, but we finally made it to the end. I'm staring at the levels. I'm like, work you.
Yeah. This episode has been a nightmare, but we always run into trouble when I'm on. I'm just a curse.
But hey, we still pulled it through. We still got through it. But before we do the wrap up, let's look at the Plus games for June, which this episode is probably going to come out at the end of the June, so you already know, but hey, it's worth a discussion.
Rogue Squadron.
So first off, let's go with the Xbox Games with Gold, because Sony Pony and me loves ragging on it. Something I didn't know, I don't know if I said this on the previous episode, they've stopped supporting games with gold, sort of. I probably should have researched this better. This is 100% thing on my part, but they were saying, like, basically what they said is that we're not gonna update our games with gold pool. Basically, I'm trying to think how to describe it. they're like, okay, cool, like that's it for Games of Gold. We're done supporting those Xbox platforms, and then we're just gonna cycle and kind of repeat previous games, previous generations, and things of that sort, which I find crazy.
Right.
360 players out in the cold. It's like, hey, cool. Like, hey, we're just gonna give.
Well, I mean, here's where it gets weird. If you don't have at least a base Xbox One at this point, I mean, Sony cut, or they cut, what was it? God, I can't, if I could function words. They cut PlayStation Plus for PS Vita and PS3.
2019, 2018.
I think beginning of 2019 or end of 2019.
If you give me a sec, because here's while I scramble for my notes, because one of the Games of Gold game for this month is Injustice. Good game, fine game. I'm 90% sure they have already offered that game before.
No, we did get it for free as a little promotion. Not for Games with Gold. They have not offered it on Games with Gold before.
14.
Unless it's the Ultimate Edition. If it's the Ultimate Edition, then we might have gotten the regular edition. But I know the regular edition was free at some point, but it wasn't with Games with Gold.
Okay, I can't find the specific thing. I don't remember the exact word. They basically just said that yeah, again, like I said, they're like, hey, we're not going to, for specifically just for the 360, we're not gonna update the like hey, we only have a pool of like a few games. We're just gonna keep cycling those games in and out for free. Which I'm like, okay, I get it. It's the 360 and the Xbox, like the original Xbox. Still annoying. Still weird. But again, it's also legacy content. But yes, so for Games of Gold for June 2021, you get The King's Bird, Shadow Awakening, and on Xbox 360 you get, oh god, why is that text so tiny? Neo Geo Battle Coliseum and Injustice Gods Among Us. Which, it's a fine month. Alright, whatever. I really have nothing more to say, unless you do.
I don't. I mean, I haven't taken advantage of Games with Gold or PlayStation Plus in a while, to be honest.
Hopping over to PlayStation, you get on PS4 you get Star Wars Squadron, Virtual Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, and on PS5 you get Operation Tango, which apparently is some co-op co-op game. I love cool. I need to look into it more. It'd definitely be a fun game to play with the missus. But we'll have to do that for another time. Because sadly, this is in fact the end of the Unofficial PlayStation Plus podcast. Why is my phone acting up? There we go.
Hi, Future Vinny here for one last small update. I don't know what it is about my PC. It really likes cutting off the endings of all my guests, and I have to do the plugs afterwards. I'm working on it. I'm looking into it. But for now, again, I just want to formally thank Mr. Richey Stevens for coming on to the show, being a fantastic guest, being so insightful. I can't wait to have him on again. And if you want to follow him, until then, you can follow him over on Twitter, Rich Dolphus, RICHDOLPHUS. Again, he is on Twitter. He is on Twitch. He is the host of Stats on Stats, which you can find on Penultimate Conquest, both on on Twitch and on YouTube. And if you want to follow this show and all the fun things that we've been getting up to, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all one word, PS Plus Pod. If you'd like to write into the show and have your letter read on air, you can do it at PlayStationPlusShow@gmail.com. I've been Viral Vinny. He was our lovely guest, Mr. Richey Stevens. I apologize immensely for the quality, but until next time, long live play whenever, wherever, forever.